But we're going to focus very much on that game day lunchtime exclusive as Manchester City look to revive their ailing title defence when they visit Aston Villa. Hosts of Villa's recent revival was halted by a late collapse last time out as they conceded 2 goals at Nottingham Forest to end a 3-match winning run. And like their opponents, Manchester City come into this one having thrown away a 1-goal lead by conceding 2 late goals at the Manchester derby at the Etihad. The derby defeat means City have lost 5 of their last 7 league games, and as a result, City sit 5th, 9 points adrift of the leaders Liverpool, having played a game more too. Prior to this one, Pep Guardiola dismissed questions of his morale being low in this period. Okay. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Manchester City fan Rachel Hertz. And Rachel, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Hi, Rachel.
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, Cass. You doing all right?
Yeah, I think like everybody in shock, disbelief, what I've witnessed, you've witnessed, City fans have witnessed, where, look, he's earned his stripes to be given every chance to turn this club around. I just feel as every week goes by, I think there's always going to be a few more that just thinking, is it really going to change?
Yeah, but it's incredible because there are people calling now for Pep to be sacked, which is just absolutely ridiculous. However, you do start to question, is he the guy to take us out of this slump? Every game we go into, we've got renewed confidence thinking, okay, today's the day we're going to stop the rot and, we'll here's another chance to redeem ourselves. And then, unfortunately, as soon as we concede, we just go to pieces. And the really sad thing about last week in particular was as soon as Fernandes converted that penalty, it really felt inevitable that they were going to go on and win the game, which is it really says a lot about our mentality and our confidence and the fact that we have got this soft underbelly at the minute. And all of a sudden, people don't fear us. That fear factor is now gone.
Yeah,
that's been eliminated. And I think that, we've been found out a little bit. And I've spoken at length that, that how we've got to this place. It's not just about the injuries. It's not just about the aging players. It's not just about the transfer market. I think now there's a big mentality and confidence issue in this squad. And I don't doubt for one second morale isn't bad. I don't doubt that. But I do think that the whole confidence and mentality thing is a real issue that Pep needs to face. And he probably hasn't had to do so in his career so far.
I mean, that is absolutely right, isn't it? Because you're right, there have been injuries. There is an element of some of the players maybe not quite at their best as they used to be because of age, perhaps. But yeah, that confidence and that lack of mental strength, the fact that they can't hold out for victories, so many worrying things that can't just be fixed quickly. And that's the problem that Pep is experiencing right now, because these, as I say, aren't quick fixes.
No, most definitely. And even though when we got off to a pretty decent start again this season, however, if you watched our games, the performance levels were quite poor. And we came, you talk about good teams, it's been a really great sign that, you managed to get 3 points even though you've played badly. We were really lucky. We were really riding our luck in the first few games of the season. And now we've been completely exposed. Obviously, I think the Rodri injury has been a catalyst to a lot of it, but we have had an extensive injury list. I think that's probably in part the fact that the last 4 years of success, well, beyond the last 4 years, but the 4 Premier League wins in a row, I think it's just catching up with us. And we're probably a little bit more susceptible to injuries. These players, to be that successful, you're playing 60 games a season, plus your internationals, plus your World Cup, everything. So it's just, I think it's, like I say, a whole perfect storm of circumstances. The one place you don't want to go today, though, is Villa Park, because we were atrocious there last season. We got away with a 1-0 defeat when really they wiped the floor with us that day. And it was funny because we're saying for such a long time we've not lost since Villa Park last December, and now we've not lost since last week.
It's like, when did you last win is what you're more thinking about.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Rachel, because was there any evidence, I mean, because City was so successful last year, but was there any evidence towards the end of the season that things needed to be adjusted slightly on City, or changes to be made that City fans might look back and go, do you know what? We did not, because relatively City didn't do anything compared to what they've done in years gone by.
hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So, everyone's talking now about the transfer market and why did we let Alvarez go? When actually at the time everyone was saying, wow, we managed to get that much for Alvarez, great money. So it was a great deal. But actually now, you look at, we're talking when we were coming away from the Etihad last week against United, we're saying someone like Alvarez would have really thrived today because there's a lot of, we need his fluidity and his movement now, whereas Haaland obviously brings something different. There's lots to talk about Haaland at the moment as well and him being dropped, but ultimately he's still our biggest goal threat. You compare that to Villa today, who I'm sure Unai Emery's probably debating who do I play, Unai Emery's probably debating do I play Watkins or Duran, and we just haven't got that at the minute. So
Rachel, I don't think you can drop him. I think you're taking high risk of going, that lad might turn around and say, I want to move.
Exactly. I totally agree. I do think, I feel a little bit sorry for him because he's become a little bit of a scapegoat. He's so isolated. He's getting next to no service. But at the same time, I think, okay, well, let's see a little bit more from you in terms of movement, in terms of wanting the ball, in terms of dropping into midfield to receive the ball. But I don't think he's necessarily got the players around him who can anticipate that movement and that fluidity that we had last season. There's a lot of talk about let's drop him and play a false nine. We haven't got the players to do that anymore. That high energy game, we don't have players with energy and pace. And that's what frightens me about today because, that's exactly what Villa do have. They've got pace, they've got physicality, they've got energy. They're three things that we're really lacking at the moment. And I watched them last week against Forest and they were really unlucky with a couple of VAR decisions as well. So, I'm fearing the worst today. And I'll be really honest, it's a 12:30 kickoff and I don't like 12:30 kickoffs for the Saturday because they've got potential to ruin your whole weekend. Whereas at least last Sunday, it was only Sunday evening that was ruined.
Oh, well, I'm afraid you're going to have to endure it. We'll see what happens, of course. Rachel, thank you for being with us.
Cheers,
no
Rachel.
problem.
Great to get your thoughts on that. That's Rachel Hurdson, then the City fan.
Isn't it one of the most interesting stories that's come out of football in the last few years? A demise of a team that... Look, we could still be wrong. They could turn it around. But it feels like if they lose today, Nat, at Villa... no way I could see them winning the title or being even fighting for Champions League football. Which I know,
it's staggering, isn't it? And one thing, actually, I wanted to ask Rachel. We ran out of time, and I know we're going to hit a break now, but it's also the question: should we be questioning their transfers recently? Because have they not strengthened enough? Clearly not, because the players that they're missing, the ones that have come in, have clearly not been able to do the job that they've needed them to do. You look at Chelsea, who have an abundance of players. We know they have a separate team for Europe, then a separate team for the Premier League, but we don't have that with Man City.
Chelsea probably, and like Forest before, did too much, but they're paying huge dividends
now. It's worked.
Now City haven't done enough, and we're seeing the price but they're paying.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.